it's choppy, we can only hear a few syllables here and there.
I am number 5. The internet is in place. Great.
Okay, yeah, I think it's hard for me to hear, so maybe you can just send messages until it's ready. Naveen Prabhu, are you available to lead kirtan?
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Stotra Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kundagiri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Ganga Maya Ki Jai, Jamuna Maya Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Welcome everybody to Srimad Bhagavatam with His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami. It is Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025. Today we're starting with Srimad Bhagavatam 4:29. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Text 9, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Should I start? I guess I will. Yasvatarme navam nityam dirashi shraddhayan vitaha bhajate shanakaistasya mano rajan prasidati. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, continued, My dear King Prithu, when one situated in his occupational duty engages in my loving service without motive for material gain, he gradually becomes very satisfied within. Purport. This verse is also confirmed by Vishnu Puran. Occupational duties are known as varnashrama dharma and apply to the 4 divisions of material and spiritual life, namely Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. If one works according to the varnashram dharma system and does not desire fruitive results, he gets satisfaction gradually. Discharging one's occupational duty as a means of rendering devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of life. Bhagavad Gita confirms this as the process of karma yoga. In other words, we should act only for the satisfaction and service of the Lord. Otherwise, we will be entangled by the resultant actions. Everyone is situated in his occupational duty, but the purpose of material occupations should not be material gain. Rather, everyone should offer the results of his occupational activities. A Brahmin especially should execute his occupational duties not for material gain, but to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra should work in a similar way. In this material world, everyone is engaged in various professional and occupational duties, but the purpose of such activities should be to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Devotional service is very simple, and anyone can adopt it. Let one remain what he is. He need only install the deity of the Supreme Lord in his house. The deity may be Radha Krishna or Lakshmi Narayan. There are many other forms of the Lord. In this way, a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra can worship the deity with the results of his honest labor. Regardless of one's occupational duty, one should adopt the devotional means of hearing, chanting, remembering, worshiping, offering everything to the Lord, and engaging in his service. In this way, one can very easily engage himself in the service of the Lord. When the Lord is pleased with one's service, one's mission in life is successful. Or rather, it's fulfilled. Okay. Om Jnana Timirantasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshurn Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Shapadantikam Pandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapadagamanam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shabrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajivan Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Shahagana Lolita Sri Vishaka Vitamstra Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prisha Bhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mansha Kolpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhopyevacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktarind Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Ya Swadharme Namam Nityam Nirashi Shraddhayan Vita Bhajate Shanakaistasya Mano Rajan Prasidati. Very important. The Varnashrama Charabhata Purushena Parapuman Vishnu Arajate Panta Nanyata Tosha Karana. Srila Prabhupada speaks many times of the importance of Varnashram Dharma, because although devotional service is transcendental, Varnashram Dharma provides the proper platform of occupational activities in which one that's conducive to devotional service. So in the Bhagavad Gita also, Yata pravitir bhutanam yena sarvamidam tatam swakarmana tama bhyarcha siddhim vintati madhava. By performing one's occupational duty, whatever it may be, one can attain perfection. Yata pravitir bhutanam. By serving the Supreme, all-pervading personality of Godhead. The Swadharma, this Swadharma is mentioned so many times in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Srimad Bhagavatam. One should be engaged according to one's own position as Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas, or sannyasi. And in that way, everyone can attain perfection. One doesn't need to switch from one ashram to another, from one varna to another. One simply needs to engage in pure devotional service. In the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna proposed giving up his Kshatriya duties and adopting the life of a Brahmin in the forest, Krishna called him weak-hearted and rejected his notion, and even said that it was that he would incur sin by taking up this path. So here, Swadharmena, by one's own duty, Mam Nityam bhajate. One should engage in steady, constant devotional service, mam, to Lord Vishnu, Krishna, shraddhayanvita, with faith and devotion. Then, shanakai, gradually, mano prasidati, one's mind will become very satisfied. And one other word here is important, nirashi, without expecting any material gain, without aspiring for some material profit, nirashi, with no motive, unmotivated devotional service. Yes, unmotivated devotional service. Then, otherwise, if we have some motive, maybe we'll get our motive satisfied, or maybe we won't, but we won't attain the self-satisfaction achieved through devotional service, or the love for Krishna that is the ultimate goal of devotional service. So unmotivated. What is that?
Ahaitukiya pratyata.
Yeah, that's also true. But, oh my goodness. Samsiddhi haritoshanam. What is the beginning?
Dharma svanushtata
Dharma
pumsam.
svanustita pumsam. Vishvakshena katasuyat. Norpada yedyathiratim. Shamevahi kevalam. Then,
Come on, Praveen Prabhu, you're giving us the hints.
my goodness. Svanustitasya dharmasya samsiddhi haritosha. Oh, Krishna.
Ata pumbir dvajashreshta.
Kumbir Dvija Shrestha Varnashrama Vibhagashna. So, simply performing prescribed duties without developing an eagerness to hear about Krishna will just be a waste of time. But the perfection of prescribed duties is to satisfy the personality of Godhead. Ata pumbir dvija shrestha varnashrama vibhagasha. Anustitaha, su anustitaha. One should be nicely situated in one's own prescribed duty. And then the perfection of that will be to please Lord Vishnu. Elsewhere in the first canto, it said, dharmasya yapavargasya narturataya upakopate. Then, kamalabhaya hismrita.
Nartasya dharmai. Nartasya dharmai kantasya.
The goal of performing one's prescribed duty should not be material profit. One should have some occupation just to keep body and soul together, to meet the needs of material existence. But one's real goal in life should be to please the personality of Godhead. That should be one's real occupation. Yes, that should be one's real occupation, devotional service to Krishna. So, yes. Let's see what else is here. in the conversation between Ramananda Roy and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this was a preliminary proposal. Ultimately, Lord Chaitanya said that this was external. But although it may be, I think the internal is to be completely engaged in devotional service, hearing and chanting and so on. But not everyone will do that. And this will be this execution of prescribed duties for the satisfaction of Krishna will be a very congenial path by which people can cultivate Krishna consciousness. One doesn't have to start from the platform of pure love or intense desire for devotional perfection. If one just has some interest in becoming connected to Krishna, and one is willing to perform prescribed duties for his satisfaction, then slowly, that's also there, Shanakai, gradually, one will make progress. One will make progress. So this verse is very important. And Prabhupada, of course, connects this and brings it forward by saying that, all right, perform your professional and occupational duties, but install the deity in your house and engage in the service of the deity, adopt the devotional methods, hearing, chanting, remembering, worshiping, offering everything to Krishna, and in this way, become fully engaged in Krishna consciousness. The two are not incompatible, that because I'm engaged in some prescribed duties, I can't become Krishna conscious. And on the other hand, Prabhupada doesn't encourage us, well, just perform your work. There are so many pious people, when they're asked, you've read Bhagavad Gita, what have you understood from Bhagavad Gita? Then they'll say, do your duty. Karmanyevadikaraste. You should do your duty. They don't even get as far as Mapaleshu Kadachana. Don't hold on to the results. Sometimes, but not so often. But in any case, that's their takeaway, that one should perform one's duty. Well, all right, performing one's duty is better than abandoning one's duty, not performing one's duty. But the duty should be performed for Krishna, yagya, yagyartat karmano nyakshaloko yam karma bandhanam. And beyond that, these principles of bhakti, these powerful methods of pure devotional service, one should adopt so that one will not just remain a Brahmin or a Kshatriya or a Grahastha or a Brahmachari, but one will gradually come to the point of pure devotional service, and that will make one's life successful. Hare Krishna.
Saraswati Mataji, you have a hand up. Also, would you be able to take the chat from now on? Saraswati Mataji?
Yes, I can try. Pranams Parampuja Maharaj and all the Vaishnavas. I'm sort of struggling to understand things that we've read about Varna Ashram, because sometimes I see contradictions and I'm not seeing the whole picture here. So one of the things, as you've mentioned, Maharaj, is how this conversation between Ramananda Rai and Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji, how it was deemed that one who faithfully follows the Varna and Ashram, giving up all their activities and surrendering to Krishna, but Mahaprabhuji dismissed that as being external and not on the transcendental platform. Yes, I understand that there are different degrees of self-realization. There is a hierarchy, but then elsewhere you come across something that those who were following the Madhvacharya, the Tattvavadis who were following Madhvacharya's teachings, and they asserted that the highest goal of life is that one has to dedicate the duties of Varna ashram dharma to Krishna, and then he is eligible for 5 kinds of liberation. Well, we know devotees never accept the Kevalya liberation, but that they are eligible for the other 4 kinds of liberation. But then we learn that those who are situated in the 4 topmost planets of the material universe, they get there based on having executed perfectly for 100 births their Varna and Ashram duties. So on the one hand, there's this quote that you're eligible to go to the spiritual world, there's 4 kinds of liberation. And on the other hand, no, you're not. You can go as far as the topmost 4 planets. And having said all that, then we get to the quote, Tyaktva swadharma charnambuj hare, that then you have to give up so-called occupational duties that are assigned. So it's really confusing. There's lots of different information coming at me, and I'm not sure how to process it and sort it out correctly. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, we've covered a lot of territory there. Sometimes we hear that Varnashram, simply following Varnashram is the right path that will lead to 4 or 5 kinds of liberation. Then we sometimes hear that those who performed their prescribed duties perfectly for many lifetimes can achieve the 4 higher planets. Then we sometimes hear that one should give up prescribed duties, Chattva Swadharmam Charanam Pujam Hare. So how do we see all this? It's not inconsistent. The Varnashram provides the underlying pattern for proper human behavior. Varnashram dharma. Even sometimes Prabhupada says this Hindu religion, Hindu term is foreign to Vedic culture. The real term is Sanatan dharma or Varnashram dharma. So that's the system of duties that one performs according to one's acquired nature. And by performing those duties, one should aim at satisfying the personality of Godhead. Otherwise, just performing Varnashram, being a good Brahmin, being a good Kshatriya, being a good Vaishya, a good Shudra, being a good Brahmachari, a good householder, and so on. That is really external. That's really external. That just engages us in proper activities according to where we are in our life, what qualities we've achieved. And that's not going to be, even it's condemned in Bhagavatam as a waste of time, Shamevi Kevala. Strongly condemned. Of course, elsewhere, before we get to condemning it, first, not performing one's duties according to Varnashram, that's still lower. It's not toss away Varnashram duties and then live helter-skelter or unregulated or whimsically. That's still lower. But simply to perform duties in Varnashram is really external. It has to do with this body, one's age, one's social situation, one's occupation. These are not eternal. What makes it eternal is the connection with Yagya or Krishna, the personality of Godhead. All of these duties should be performed for his satisfaction. Svadharmana tamabhyarcha siddhim vindatimam. Then one can attain perfection. Now, Chattva Sadharmam Charanam Bhujam Hare doesn't advise one to give up, to renounce prescribed duties, Chatvasva Dharma. But it's having given them up. If by, for one reason or another, or rather for the sake of spiritual advancement, even if one gives up prescribed duties, he's not a loser. Even if he gives up prescribed duties and then falls down from the spiritual path, he's not a loser, because he gets the benefit of having engaged, taken up the service of the Lord. And whatever progress he's made is his permanent asset. What is that? Better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all? What's the source of that? Anyway, better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. So even if a person takes up the path of love of Krishna and can't sustain it, then yoga brashto vijayate. The Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asks, what is the position of a person who faithfully takes up the process of yoga, devotional service, but doesn't complete it? Yoga chalita manasa, it becomes deviated. Kaschinno bhayavibrashtas, chinna brahmiva nashati, apratishto mahabaho vimuto brahmanapati. Is he like a cloud that just gets torn apart in the sky? He's nowhere. He's got ubhaya vibrashtas. He failed in his spiritual project and he gave up his material project. So now he's nowhere. Now that's Arjuna's question, which he says no one but Krishna can answer. And Krishna reassures him that no, there's never any loss for the person who takes up devotional service. Even if he doesn't finish it in this life, in the next life, he'll come back in a fortunate family and pick it up again from where he left off. So Chatvasva Dharma is not recommending just give up, but in the Bhagavad, in the 18th chapter, Sarva Dharman Pratyaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. Krishna says, yes, you can give up all other considerations and just engage in service to me. But in discussion, Srila Prabhupada noted that devotees take this up and then fall down. In our society, they take up the devotional quest, but then Prabhupada said, why are they falling down? And his answer was that they're not properly engaged according to this varnashram system. So the varnashram system is meant to be supportive of devotional service, or it's meant to be a channel, you'd say, for devotional service. One performs one's prescribed duties and dedicates them to the service of Krishna. And Prabhupada sort of emphasizes here that while doing so, one installs the deity, one chants, one hears, one remembers, one serves, one surrenders. So in this way, one makes progress. The criticism of the Tattvavadis by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is that they were too stuck in the rules and regulations of Varnashram and lacking in spontaneous service to the Lord. Otherwise, not that Varnashram is bad, but without that eager attraction for Krishna, it misses the point, and therefore in the Bhagavatam, Shrame Vihi Kevalam. Is that all right?
Yes, thank you so much, Maharaj.
Mm-hmm.
For our next text, Madhupati Prabhu, are you available? And I need to leave the call, so after that, we have Radesha Prabhu, Saraswati Mashi, Naveen Prabhu. You can read as well.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Gurudas Jayādvaita Swami Tinam. Parityakta Guna Samyak Darshano Vishadashaya Santi Me Sama Avasthanam Brahma Kaivalyam Asante. When the heart is cleansed of all material contamination, the devotee's mind becomes broader and transparent, and he can see things equally. At that stage of life, there is peace, and one is situated equally with me as Satchidananda Vigraha. Purport. The Mayavad conception of Kaivalya and that of the Vaishnava community is different. The Mayavadi thinks that as soon as one is free from all material contamination, he is merged into the existence of the Supreme. The Vaishnava philosopher's conception of Kaivalya is different. He understands both his position and the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the uncontaminated condition, the living entity understands that he is the eternal servant of the Supreme, and that is called Brahman realization, the spiritual perfection of the living entity. This repo is very easily achieved. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, when one is engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, he is immediately situated on the transcendental platform of Kaivalya or Brahman. Om Ajnanatimandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurmitanyana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Soul's eternal position is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Mamai Vanso Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Just as the Lord is Satchidananda Vigraha, the soul, the fragmental part, infinitesimal part of the Supreme Lord is also Satchidananda Vigraha. But when the conditioned soul, when it identifies with the body, it is contaminated by unwanted desires, anarthas. So when the heart is cleansed of those unwanted desires, the devotee's mind becomes broader and transparent, and he sees things equally, as mentioned in this verse. And that's real peace. He understands his position, he understands the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He understands it is the eternal servant of the Supreme Lord, not as the Mayavadis think that Aham Brahmasmi, that we are spiritual, and ultimately that's all. It just merges, the soul merges into the Supreme. There's a Mayavadi's conception of Kaivalya. But the Vaishnava conception is at that stage, he understands his real position as part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Brahmeti, Brahman realization is the first beginning stage, and Paramatmeti, Bhagwaniti Sabdyate, then Paramatma realization, Bhagwan realization. Right. But at that realization, of Brahman realization, he understands that he's part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And the duty of the part is to serve the Supreme Lord. And is engaged then in
transcendental loving service of the Lord. Sri Prabhupada mentions this purport as when one is engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord, he is immediately situated on that Kaivalya platform. Not as the Mayavadis, the entire life they spent to come to that Brahman realization. And after many, many births of that Brahman realization, they come to the understanding of Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Samahatma Tullabha. Yeah, that's all I have.
All good points. And this is preliminary, one could say, where the whole world is, if you speak about meditation, people may be interested in doing meditation because they want peace. Their minds are disturbed and they're looking for peace. Yes. So, all right, you're looking for peace, then parichakta guna. One should get free from the modes of material nature and see with equal vision, samyak darshana, and vishada ashaya, and with an uncontaminated heart. So the first question, of course, is how do we do that? And there are various methods for achieving that. But of all the methods, devotional service is recommended as the most effective, and especially in this age, the chanting of the holy names of the Lord is recommended. As otherwise, we'll do some gymnastic exercises, we'll do some philosophical speculation, but the heart will not be so easily freed from contaminations, and we will not achieve peace. But if one takes to devotional service, then sagunan samatijaitan brahmabhuyaya kolpate, it quickly comes to the Kaivalya platform, the spiritual platform, Brahma Kaivalya. And then it comes to the next thing, because the first question is, well, how do I achieve this? And then the next thing is, all right, once I've achieved it, then what? If I've got peace, that would be very nice, but what do I do for the rest of eternity? Just sort of revel in peace? There should be some further development, some further understanding, some higher goal, higher achievement. So that's there in devotional service also. The process is the most recommended, most effective, and the goal is the highest. And to achieve the goal, one doesn't have to switch and do something else. That first I'll do this, then I'll do that. First I'll perform yogic exercises, and then the next thing. But here, simply by devotional service, one method, devotional service, one achieves the highest goal, not only peace, that will come, but further, one revives one's relationship with Krishna, and one comes to the point of love for Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, I came across something that Srila Prabhupada said. Well, he actually ridiculed the Mayavadi assertions that they don't believe that Krishna has a personal form, but they say when he descends, he takes on a material form, like under the grips of Maya. And Srila Prabhupada was ridiculing this faulty logic, because he said, first of all, the Mayavadis are abhorrent, that they're trying to get rid of anything that's material, that's under the grips of Maya. But yet they don't stop and ask themselves why the Supreme Absolute Truth would then stoop to take on an inferior material form. If he's the Supreme, why would he, want to even do that? So, it was so obvious that their whole argument's so ridiculous. That's something they themselves are trying to get rid of, this material business, and yet they think the Absolute Truth will take on a material form.
Maya Yakshena Prakriti Suyase Sacharacharam. The material modes of nature are working under Krishna's supervision. So why think that Krishna comes under their control? They're working under his control. And there's so many, we can go into books and books of arguing against the Mayavad conclusion. Why would the undifferentiated absolute truth even assume any form? If the impersonal is primary, why from an impersonal form would we get a personal form? Therefore Krishna says, avyaktam vyaktim apannam manyate mam abhutaya param bhavam ajananto mam abhuta maheshwaram. The abhuti, abhutaya, those who are less intelligent, think that from the unmanifest, formless state, I've assumed a form of vyaktim apanna. Exactly what it says, from avyakta, the unmanifest, impersonal realm, vyaktim apanna. I've assumed a personal feature. Those who think this way are abhutaya, less intelligent, param bhavam ajananto. They don't know my supreme nature, mama bhuta maheshwaram, and my supreme control over everything. They think that somehow he becomes controlled by Maya. So they're all less intelligent. Hare Krishna.
Radhesha Prabhuji, can you read text 11?
Yes. Udasinam ivadhyaksham dravya jnana kriyatmanam kutastham imam atmanam yo vedapnoti shobhanam. Anyone who knows that this material body, made of the 5 gross elements, the sense organs, the working senses, and the mind, is simply supervised by the fixed soul, is eligible to be liberated from material bondage. This verse describes how one can become liberated from material bondage. The first point is that one must know that the soul is different from his body. The soul is called Dehi, or one who possesses the body. And the material body is called Deha, or the embodiment of the soul. The body is changing at every moment, but the soul is fixed. Therefore, the soul is called Kutastham. The change of body is enacted by the reactions of the 3 modes of nature. One who has understood the fixed position of the soul should not be disturbed by the incoming and outgoing interactions of the modes of material nature in the form of happiness and distress. In Bhagavad Gita also, Lord Krishna recommends that since happiness and distress come and go due to the interaction of the modes of nature on the body, one should not be disturbed by such external movements. Even though one is sometimes absorbed in such external movements, he has to learn to tolerate them. The living entity should be always indifferent to the action and reaction of the external body. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that the body, made of the gross physical elements, earth, water, fire, air, and sky, and the subtle elements, mind, intelligence, and ego, is completely different from the soul proper. One should therefore not be disturbed by the action and reaction of these 8 gross and subtle material elements. The practical process to attain this stage of indifference is to execute devotional service. Only one who constantly engages in devotional service 24 hours a day can be indifferent to the action and reaction of the external body. When a man is absorbed in a particular thought, he does not hear or see any external activities, even though they are enacted in his presence. Similarly, those who are fully absorbed in devotional service do not care what is going on with the external body. This status is called samadhi. One who is actually situated in samadhi is understood to be a first-class yogi. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Gurudasa Jayādvaita Swami Niti Namane. This samyag adhyate iti samadhi, this complete absorption, is only possible when you're engaged in devotional service 24 hours a day. But I was thinking about even when one is engaged in devotional service for that particular moment, Jivan Mukta Suchite. I was thinking about that the last time I was on the altar, I was worshiping our Panchatattva deities here in Hawaii. And at the end of each piece of paraphernalia worshiping the deities, I turn and I offer that same paraphernalia to the devotees who are present in the temple room. And I was meditating on that deeply and thinking, the same paraphernalia used to worship the Lord, I'm now using to worship his devotees. And that means that their bodies are spiritual. Obviously, I'm not worshiping Bhumirapo Nalo Vayu Kamano Buddhirevacha. I'm not worshiping the material elements of their body. But at least in that moment, they've sacrificed their time and been come to attend the arti. And so we worship that spiritual presence. And so samadhi, Srila Prabhupada is giving a very deeper understanding of samadhi 24 hours a day, not just intermittent devotional service, but a permanent state of devotional service. And that is only possible by a permanent state of knowledge. Srila Prabhupada says in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, after describing this verse actually reminds me of that. Let's see here. Udasinam ivadhyaksham dravya jnana kriyatmanam. One who kutastam imamatmanam, one who knows this material body made of the 5 gross elements, the sense organs, the working senses, and the mind, is simply supervised by the fixed soul, is eligible for liberation. So at the end of the 13th chapter, after describing the kshetra gyayor gyanam yajtat gyanam etam mama, Krishna says, this is my opinion. And when Krishna states that something is his opinion, one should pay close attention. He says that one who knows not only the deha and dehi, but that I am the knower of all bodies. You may be the knower of your body, but Krishna is the knower of all bodies. That's knowledge. And at the end of the 13th chapter, or towards the end, he says, Naso huyo bhijayate. Such a person who has this knowledge, it doesn't take birth again. And I was thinking about it, just knowing these things doesn't make sense to me, but I think the implication is that really knowing it means you act on it. And if you're acting on that principle of understanding the difference between the body and the soul, then you'll act on the platform of the soul, which Srila Prabhupada is stating here in this purport to be samadhi. So, and of course, the 13th chapter of Gita goes on, not just the knower of the body and the field of activities, but also understanding the gunas, prakriti, understanding the material energy and the modes of material nature. Then in that proper state of knowledge, then one can make great advancement in devotional service and hopefully achieve samadhi, which means complete absorption in devotional service 24 hours a day, not some sort of vague, impersonal nirvana state as Madhupati Prabhu already covered in the last verse. Guru Maharaj.
Nice explanations. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments, the word eva indicates that though the jiva is not completely indifferent to the world, in the state of practice is aiming for perfection of Gyan. So even though one may not be 100% indifferent, one is practicing devotional service and he's becoming indifferent. Udasina, is that the word used? Kutastam. Did I see it, Udasina? Yeah, Udasina.
The first word, yeah.
Udasina. In the beginning, he's indifferent because he knows that I'm not this body. So what does all this have to do with me? The more one becomes absorbed in devotional service, the more he becomes indifferent to material fame and infamy, material loss and gain, material happiness and distress. These become unimportant. Because what's it to me? I'm not this body. Those things come and go anyway. So why should I be fixated on those things? I should be focused on Krishna. So then Shobhana, one is very nicely situated. Hare Krishna.
We're getting to the end of our class. Shama Sindhu, Das Prabhuji, could you lead us in the closing kirtan?
His internet connection isn't good enough.
I don't think my it's fun.
Venkatesh Prabhuji, could you lead us, please?
Okay. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Charine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshakarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yo Vishwa Sarvasura Jaya Shruti Shruti Vangisi Sivasya Doshina Prabhat Ki Jai Yo Vishwa Sarvasura Jaya Shruti Vangisi Sivasya Prabhat Ki Jai Radhakoti Vaishnava Ki Jai Namaskar Ki Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Him Singh Gopti Krishna to Dear Pravam Prarna Advaita Ram Srivasadi Gaur Ki Jai Radha Krishna Gopti Ashram Parvata Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Dwarkapuri Dham Ki Jai Dodip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Gangamai Yamunamai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Namaste Gaur Bhakti Ki Jai All grace and liberty, silence and liberty, all grace and liberty, Sri Guru Sri Gauranga.
All right. Thank you all very much. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow for Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you.
Thank you for class.
Thank you.
His Holiness Jayādvaita Maharaj Shri Ki Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Gaur Premanande.
Hari 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 Prabhu.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you.
thank you.